Good day, everybody. I hope that you are well, and I also hope that you are having a good day so far. Today, we'll be doing our grade 8 English lesson on subject and predicate. And before we start, we're going to log on to aplusstudents.ca. All right. We're doing subject and predicate, grade 8. And we are going to aplusstudents.ca. We're going to log on with our username as well as our password. And then scroll down up until we get to our chapter of subject and predicate. All right. So this is a continuation of our previous lesson on subject and predicate. In our previous lesson, we had to identify the complete subject and complete predicate. And then we also had to identify the simple subject or simple predicate. But today, our chapter is subject and predicate. Our subject is English language arts. We're doing grade 8. And the lessons that we are going to be focusing on under the chapter of subject and predicate is to identify the compound subject or predicate or compound predicate within a sentence. All right, so we see that every sentence has a complete subject and it has a complete predicate. And remember, the subject tells us who or what is doing something, and the predicate is the action that the person or thing is doing. So every sentence has a complete subject and a complete predicate. And when the complete subject is compound meaning there's two or more simple subjects that is joined by a conjunction and they share the same predicate. If we were to choose, if we were to look at our subject, right, our lesson, example, sorry, of a complete subject that is compound, right? All right. And remember, keeping in mind when it comes to a subject and a predicate, right? We say that we are, when it comes to a complete subject that is compound, when it's compound, it shows two or more simple subjects that is joined by a conjunction and they share the same predicate. And if we look at an example, it says a Robert and his classmate will be attending a ballet performance. It says Robert and his classmate. So now, if we were to select the complete subject that is compound, then it is Robert and his classmate. So, compound, like we said, a compound subject, it is basically just two or more simple subjects that are joined by a conjunction. All right. And then also when it comes to our subjects, right? So every simple subject in the compound subject tells us who will be attending a ballet performance. All right. And if we look at an example, right, of when a subject or when the complete subject or predicate is compound, then two or more simple predicates are joined by a conjunction and share the same subject. All right. When it also comes to our subject, the complete predicate, right, of a compound that is compound, that also basically shows that there is either two or more simple predicates. And these two or more simple predicates, it is also joined by a conjunction and they share the same subject. Whereas if the subject is compound, all right. And once again, we see that each of the simple subjects, like over here, in the compound subject, it tells us who will be attending the ballet performance. All right. So when it comes to our subjects and it comes to our predicate, right? Remember the subject is basically who or what is telling us to do something, or who or what is doing something, who's doing the actions. All right. We had identified over here, we identified our simple subjects, right? So now we're going to try and identify the two predicates within a sentence. It says Sarah woke up late but still arrived at work on time. All right. So Sarah woke up late but still arrived at work on time. So woke up late, arrived at work on time. That is our compound subject. And it is joined by a conjunction which is but. So each of that sentence, or let's say basically that sentence, it tells us what Sarah did. She woke up late, but she still arrived at work on time. So that is basically a sentence with two predicates. All right. So now let's go to aplusstudents.ca and we're going to identify the compound subject or compound predicate within a sentence. All right, so now we're going to do a few activities and then we're going to our test. It says we need to select the four words that make up the compound subject. Four words. It says nuts and dried fruit add a punch of flavor to plain yogurt. So nuts and dried fruit add a punch of flavor to plain yogurt. We now need to select the four words that make up the compound subject. Compound subject. And if we were to choose the four words that make up the compound subject, and then we can say it is nuts and dry fruit. That is four words. All right, the next one says we need to select the six words that make up the compound subject. Six words. The lanky singer and his band have incredible stage presence. The lanky singer and his band have incredible stage presence. We need to select the six words that make up the compound subject. And if we were to select the six words that make up the compound subject, and the six words that make up the compound subject is the lanky singer and his band. And that the which is the lanky singer and basically his band, and the word and is then joined by a conjunction. So the lanky singer and his band, that is our compound subject. We now need to select the seven words that make up the compound predicate. Oh, the predicate. Okay, that's correct. So now we need to select seven words that make up the compound predicate. The relay race lasted an hour and challenged our stamina. So the relay race lasted an hour and challenged our stamina. So now we need to select the seven words that make up the compound predicate. And if we were to identify the 7 words that make up the compound predicate, then we'll say lasted an hour and challenged our stamina. That is our compound predicate. Right? And before we go on to our test, we said we had to identify our compound subject as well as compound predicate. And the compound subject and the compound predicate, right? Firstly, the compound subject, it has two or more simple subjects and then it's joined by conjunction and they share the same predicate. And then when it comes to the compound predicate, it also has two or more simple predicates again, and it is joined by a conjunction, and they share one, or they basically share the same subject. All right, so now we're going to our test, and we're going to select 4 words that make up our compound subject. 4 words that make up our compound subject. All right, we need to select 4 words that make up a compound subject. Dandelions and mustard grass grow abundantly around here in the spring. Sorry. So dandelions and mustard grass grow abundantly here in the spring. We need to select the 4 words that make up the compound subject. Is it option 1, dandelions and mustard grass, or option 2, year in the spring? All right, and if we were to choose the correct option, then option 1, which is dandelions and mustard grass. Yes, that is our compound subject. We need to select the 7 words that make up the compound predicate. It says Paula searched the attic but couldn't find anything. It says Paula searched the attic but couldn't find anything. We need to select the 7 words that make up the compound predicate. Is it option one, search the attic but couldn't find anything? Or option two, Paula searched the attic but couldn't find? And if we were to select the 7 words that make up the compound predicate, right? And then we can say search the attic, option one, but couldn't find anything. Yes, well done. All right, the next one says we need to select the 7 words that make up the compound predicate. 7 words that make up the compound predicate. Is it option one? Before it says the race lasted an hour and challenged our stamina. So is it option one, lasted an hour and challenged our stamina? Or is it option two, the relay race lasted an hour and challenged? Okay. And if we were to choose the correct option, then we'll choose option one, lasted an hour and challenged our stamina, our compound predicate. All right, the next one says we need to select the 7 words that make up our compound predicate. 7 words that make up the compound predicate. Mr. Baker promoted me and gave me a raise. So Mr. Baker promoted me and gave me a raise. We need to choose the compound predicate. Is it option one, promoted me and gave me a raise? Or option one, Mr. Baker promoted me and gave me? And if we were to choose the correct option, then we can say promoted me and gave me a raise. All right, well done. We need to select the four words that make up the compound subject. Is it option one? It says plain and dried fruit, add a punch. Nuts and dried fruit add a punch of flavor to plain yogurt. And if we were to select the four words that make up the compound subject, we can say nuts and dried fruit. That is basically our compound subject. Well done. The next one says we need to select four words that make up the compound subject. My friends and family contributed money to the fundraiser for cystic fibrosis. And if we were to select the compound subject, then we can say, is it option one, my friends and family contributed, or is it option two, my friends and family? We need to select the compound subject. And if we were to select the four words that make up the compound subject, then we can say my friends and family. All right. The next one says neither Jenna, nor Gina attended the technology conference last May. So we need to select the four words that make up the compound subject. Is it option one, Jenna nor Jeannie attended? Or option two, neither Jenna nor Gina? And if we were to select the compound subject, then we can say option two, neither Jenny nor Gina. That is our compound subject. All right, then the last one. It says, select the 7 words that make up the compound predicate. So, explorer Sylvia Earle studies marine ecosystems and designs underwater equipment. And if we were to select our compound predicate, remember the predicate. Is it option 1, studies marine ecosystems and designs underwater equipment? Or is it option 2, explorer Sylvia Earle studies marine ecosystems and? We need to select 7 words. So if we were to select the 7 words that make up the compound predicate, sorry, we need to select the 7 words to make up the compound predicate. And if we were to choose, we will say studies marine ecosystems and designs underwater equipment. All right. And sorry. So this is now the we did in today's lesson we did subject and predicate, and we focused today on identifying compound subject and compound predicate. And before we just briefly go over what compound subject and compound predicate is again, we also made mention of the complete subject and a complete predicate of a sentence, right? And with a complete subject or complete predicate in a sentence, a complete subject, it tells us who or what is doing something. And it is that simple sentence plus all the other words that tell us what the person is doing, right? And then the same with a complete predicate, right? It is basically the predicate or the action plus all the other words it tells us the action that is being done within the sentence. Then when we only identify a simple subject, and then with a simple subject, you only identify the subject, which is either the noun or the pronoun that basically does the action. And the same with the simple predicate. Only the action, only the verb, and not all the other extra things. And then today's lesson, we did compound subjects and compound predicates, where we said that when it comes to compound subject and compound predicate, um, a complete subject is compound. It has two or more simple subjects, and it is joined by a conjunction, and it shares the same predicate. And then we have a complete predicate, and that one is in when it's compound, then it means it has two or more simple predicates, and it is joined by a conjunction, and it shares the same subject. Right? So this is now the end of our lesson on subject and predicate. Thank you very much for joining the class, and I really hope that you're going to have a good day further, and also have a good Christmas. Goodbye.